Hello my lovely bookish friends, and welcome at last to my Lord of the Rings reading and annotating vlog. Now, for those of you who have watched my other annotating and reading vlogs, you'll know that this is a slightly different setup to usual, because usually my videos are silent videos. However, because this video is going to be a little bit longer than usual, I put up a poll asking whether you guys wanted it to be a chatty reading vlog or whether you wanted it to be a silent one, and it was the chatty that one. So this is actually going to be the only time I'm talking directly to you, directly to the camera to you. As for the rest of this video, you are going to be following along with me as I read and annotate The Lord of the Rings. Now, because of this, there are going to be quite a lot of spoilers throughout this video, as you are going to be properly following my annotating process. So if you haven't read or watched The Lord of the Rings films, maybe save this video and come back to it after you have, because really there is going to be so many spoilers in this vlog. But with that said, let's get to reading Lord of the Rings. For anyone who doesn't know, The Lord of the Rings is an epic fantasy novel by J.R.R. Tolkien. It is set in the magical world of Middle-earth, where men, dwarves, elves and delightful creatures known as hobbits live and battle against a growing evil. It is often thought of as a trilogy. However, it was actually released as one novel in parts. It's also been adapted into an incredible movie series, which I adore, but I have never read the original novel before, so this is my first time reading it. I'm honestly so excited. Last year I read The Hobbit, which is the prequel to this, for the first time and loved it, so I cannot wait to dive back into this world. As I have already seen the movies, I'm already looking forward to reading about the characters that I already love. My first annotations will probably just be the first mentions of those characters. When it comes to annotating, I have no structure or plan really. I solely go based on my feelings. The colours, whether I highlight or underline or tab, all of that is just based on my feelings as I read. When I watched Lord of the Rings before, I didn't really like Bilbo that much. I found him creepy, especially in his first scenes with the ring. However, having read and watched The Hobbit, Bilbo has this special place in my heart. He's become a comfort character, and now I feel so much more attached to him and what has happened to him and what's happening within this story. Compared to the films, there's a lot more in the Shire with Frodo and his friends before they set off on their great adventure. We learn a lot about the Shire, and it really showcases the strong friendship between the hobbits. They really choose to set out on this quest together because of that bond. I didn't mention before, but I'm also listening to the audiobook as I read, so it's a proper immersive read, and this also helps with the complicated elfish and their names. There's a lot to the world of Lord of the Rings and to Middle-earth. There are so many backstories and legends that are all woven into the story, along with songs and poems. I feel like for some people it might feel a bit info-dumpy, but it also really adds layers and depths to this world, to the characters within it. This vlog has taken me the longest to film and just get ready. I started reading this back in February and only finished it in May. It just takes a while to read and annotate and film. So some of these clips are from different months and at different times. It's funny to see how they all kind of merge together. The fellowship begins relatively slowly, but once it starts to pick up, things just become very intense very quickly. Whenever there's an intense and plot-changing moment, I find myself annotating like crazy. There are pages where I end up highlighting almost every word. It's just so good. On to the second part, the Two Towers, and this has always been my favourite out of the movies because of how they shot the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's just the most incredible piece of cinema. Events really pick up in this book. The Fellowship is scattered and everyone has their own storylines. Each of the 3 groups of the Fellowship has their parts to play, and I'm so excited to see how it will pan out in the book. The way the book is plotted is quite interesting. We will follow one of the parties of the Fellowship for a while, and then we'll flip back to another party, sometimes going back in time, but this means that we don't always see some of the characters for a while. Got to the Helm's Deep chapter and I'm so excited to read this. It's interesting because even though I have seen the films and I know what's going to happen, it really just didn't ruin my enjoyment of the book. The way the battle is written is amazing. It's so intense and I just find myself on the edge of my seat. Like, I haven't watched the films actually, to be fair, in a while, so there are some parts where I am a bit hazy, and it's also slightly different in some bits in the book. Also, the audiobook is so good. It's read by Andy Serkis, who played Gollum in the movies, and his voice just gives each of the characters is just so good. Emily is also like having Gollum in your ear when he does those parts, which is ugh. The writing is just so beautiful. Even the worst moments and the battles, I'm so hooked in. Like, I know the story, I am nervous and anxious of what these characters are going through, and I think just like the small quiet moments that happen between all the big action really just makes you feel for these heroes who all have these moments where they kind of could turn back, but they will just choose to press on and through their hardships. My gosh, I forgot how the second part ends. This is crazy and scary. Oh, it's just intense. I know I've used that word a lot, but it just really is. On to the final part, the return of the king. You'll see as the clips go on, but as I started reading this and I read like 80% of it in a single sitting, I was so engrossed. The stakes and the action which built up in the last part just keep going and you barely get a chance to stop and breathe. Still those moments of gentleness and the calm before the storm, but there's much less backstory. The present has our total focus. The thing I love deeply about this book is that it's a friendship story. The romance is subtle and it is really about these friends who are there for each other despite their literal world falling apart. once again, it is not until later in this part that we return to Frodo and Sam. Despite them having the most important part of the quest, they don't feature that often. Rather than scattering their story amongst the other chapters, we go back in time to have their story, to have it all in one section. One of the biggest differences between the book and the film is that there's quite a bit that happens after the quest ends. We see our heroes slowly returning home. Each parting I'm getting more and more emotional. I have become so attached to these characters, and I love how the end is kind of like the beginning, with the characters leaving almost in the order of which they first appeared in, until we are left just with our delightful hobbits. Okay, oh my gosh, plot twist. The movie ends with them happily returning home, and I was just not prepared for what's going on in the Shire. Like, let the boys just go home in peace. They just defeated Sauron. I really didn't see any of this coming. I was totally thrown off in the best way. This is such a twist, and amazing that even right at the end there's still surprises, yet it all makes sense. And finished. I got very emotional at the end. I love it so much. Something I touched on before is that the love story between Arwen and Aragon is very subtle in the main story. It is there, we don't get any real scenes between just them or learn about it directly until the end. That's because it's in the appendix. It's there, you get their first meeting, and you also learn that Elrond basically says to Aragon that you can only marry my daughter after you become king, which kind of makes you realise that Aragon basically went through all this struggle just to marry his girl. Him and Sam are just setting the bar far too high. But with that, we reach the end of The Lord of the Rings and the end of this video. Look at all those tabs. This is certainly my most annotated book and I love it. If you have read Lord of the Rings, do let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Or if you'd like to leave a comment but don't know what to put, just leave a wizard emoji for Gandalf. And so that I know that you made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, my lovely bookish friends.